Good afternoon, and welcome to today's webinar on equipping the outdoor workforce of the future, collaborative strategies for states and outdoor recreation partners. On behalf of the National Governors Association Center for Best Practices, I'd like to welcome the Outdoor Recreation Learning Network and the Governor's Economic and Workforce Advisors to what promises to be a really exciting discussion about collaborative innovations in workforce preparation for the outdoor recreation economy. My name is Timothy Schoenhoven, and I have the privilege of moderating this webinar, and I'm joined today by my colleagues Bevan Buchheister and Jessica Rackley. And together we have the pleasure of facilitating the NGA Outdoor Recreation Learning Network. This webinar is being recorded and slides will be available on the NGA website this week. All participants' lines will be muted and we will have a time for questions after the presentations. Please submit your questions at any time through the chat box or by using the Q&A feature, and we will address them during the Q&A portion. The NGA Outdoor Recreation Learning Network convenes governor-appointed advisors who are directors of state offices of outdoor recreation and staff from relevant agencies and states without offices. The network facilitates peer-to-peer exchange and provides a host of resources to governors and their outdoor recreation staff as they explore strategies to promote economic development, workforce health, and conservation through outdoor recreation and to improve access to recreation. Before we begin, I'd like to extend a special thanks to our network sponsors, the Outdoor Recreation Roundtable, Outdoor Industry Association, REI, and the VF Foundation. Thank you all for the great work you are doing advancing the outdoor recreation economy and for supporting the states as they elevate the importance of outdoor recreation to states' economies. As we all know, the outdoor recreation sector is contributing an ever-increasing portion of the U.S. economy and generating $788 billion in economic output and over 5.2 million jobs. Until recently, there have been few formal pathways to train for these jobs. Today, we are going to hear from academics from 2 states that have created university training programs with assistance from the state outdoor recreation offices. So we're highlighting 2 confluent states, Colorado and Oregon. And I've asked the directors from the state offices to introduce the speakers and mention how they work together to advance workforce education for outdoor recreation. So to start, I'd like to turn it over to Kaylin O'Brien-Feeney, who is our Oregon member on the Outdoor Recreation Learning Network and director of the Oregon Office of Outdoor Recreation. Kaylin.
Thanks, Timothy, and good afternoon, everyone. Excited to introduce a couple of close colleagues here in Oregon, Lee Davis and Aaron Gaines. Both are colleagues of mine from years back, actually, and were delegates to the creation of the Confluence Accords, of which education and workforce training is one of those core pillars. I just wanted to highlight here in the context of this webinar, perhaps the most relevant principle, I think, in terms of how the state and universities are working together, and that is to promote workforce training programs for technical training, skill mastery, and business opportunities across the spectrum of outdoor industry careers. And so in today's webinar, we'll hear a little bit about what workforce development is in this context and a better understanding of the breadth of those careers. I've learned a lot working closely with Lee and Aaron over the past couple of years, whose initiative, the Center for the Outdoor Recreation Economy at Oregon State University, started about the same time that the Oregon Office of Outdoor Recreation did. So at CORE, the Center for the Outdoor Recreation Economy, Lee is the executive director and brings a wealth of experience as a past director of the Mazamas, a nonprofit educational organization founded in 1894 with a mission of inspiring everyone to love and protect the mountains. Lee's commitment to the outdoor industry spans decades, including both his professional and personal pursuits. As I mentioned, having worked together closely over the last several years, Lee led efforts to create Oregon's Office of Outdoor Recreation, as well as our Oregon Outdoor Recreation Day, which was just this past Saturday. Lee, Aaron, hopefully you guys went out. I went and took opportunity to get a free fishing morning out on the Deschutes. He also helped organize and build the Oregon Outdoors Coalition and has collaborated on federal legislation with Senator Ron Wyden's office. That leads me to introducing Aaron Gaines. Aaron is a government affairs policy and advocacy specialist with 10 years experience working on federal policy issues, including 4 years on Capitol Hill in Senator Ron Wyden's office as his natural resource counsel. Since 2017, Aaron has focused her career on policy and advocacy related to conservation, outdoor recreation, and the outdoor industry. As the industry and government relations strategist for the Center for the Outdoor Recreation Economy at Oregon State University, Aaron helps the center build connections with government officials and industry representatives to secure support and resources for outdoor industry workforce development in Oregon and nationally. Aaron is leading efforts to develop and launch an outdoor recreation economy workforce development consortium of universities that'll focus on national coordination between academia and the outdoor industry, which is what you'll hear about more towards the tail end of this webinar. Aaron received a bachelor's from political science at University of Wisconsin and is a fellow Lewis and Clark graduate, along with myself, though she made it all the way through the law school and I did not. With that, I'll hand it back over to you, Timothy, or over to Nathan to introduce Joel from Colorado.
Thanks, Kaylin. Yeah, I'll kick it over to Nathan, who's our director in the Colorado State Office.
Yeah, thanks, Timothy. Afternoon, everybody. Thanks for joining us. Also, Lewis and Clark alumni here, along with my two colleagues on the panel. My name is Nathan Fay. I'm the director of Colorado's Outdoor Recreation Industry Office. And one of our missions in Colorado is to drive the advancement of the outdoor rec economy by supporting diverse and inclusive education and training pathways that meet the real needs of our industry. And so today I have the pleasure of introducing one of our great partners in this mission, Joel Harder. He's the associate professor and director of professional programs in the environmental studies program at the University of Colorado Boulder. Joel leads both the Masters of the Environment professional graduate degree program and the Outdoor Recreation Economy program, which is the first in the country to look at the outdoor recreation economy holistically. So as director, Joel oversees the development of innovative professional education for emerging leaders and talent pipeline, which will support the nearly $800 billion outdoor economy and beyond. Joel is an internationally recognized expert in conservation leadership. He's led projects around the world in conservation management, climate change, health, economic development, and recreation. He's also served in various advisory and consulting capacities for communities, nonprofits, and organizations. In the past, Joel was a ranger for the National Park Service and an engineer in the automotive industry, and started an international non-governmental organization supporting girls and women's education in Uganda. Joel holds a PhD in geography from the University of Florida, a master's degree in forest engineering from Oregon State University, and a bachelor's of science in mechanical engineering and in German from the University of Michigan. I only wish he also had a Lewis and Clark credential on his resume, but I will turn it over to our panelists now to have the conversation.
Great, thanks, Nathan. My name is Lee Davis, as Kaylin said, and I'm glad to be with you all here today to talk a little bit about workforce development, about OSU's programs, to hear from Joel at CU Boulder, and to have Aaron talk to you quite a bit about the consortium that we're trying to assemble nationally for the recreation economy. Next slide. One of the first things we need to do, and we almost don't need to do it for this particular audience, but we start every single presentation we have with some context around what the outdoor recreation economy is. And this is a graphic we developed a couple of years ago. We're actually updating it this year, so if any of you have feedback on it, we'd love to hear it. But it's a graphic to sort of, visually explain what are the jobs in the outdoor recreation economy. And you'll see at the center is, natural resources, land and water, and then all the various forms of participation sort of in the little pizza pie shapes running around the center there. But then in general, one of the things I think we're all finding is that most people in America are only largely aware of the front-facing jobs in the recreation economy. So they're aware of the retail staff and the tours and tour providers and outfitters and guides, service professionals, the salespeople that help, sell equipment and RVs and boats and such. But a lot of the jobs, millions of the jobs, actually are living wage jobs that are effectively hidden from the public, and they span the private sector, the public sector, and nonprofit sector organizations. So generally when we at OSU, and I believe also when CU Boulder is thinking about and talking about the recreation economy, we're including all facets of the recreation economy, including motorized, non-motorized, human-powered, et cetera, and all three of these sectors of organizations that live and work in and around it. And one of the things that we often use as a talking point is to remind people that whether you're talking to a park manager, that works for a county park state system or a state park system, or an administrator with the United States Forest Service, or somebody who manages a community group or a service corps in the outdoors, or even those of us that work in and around the trade associations and all of the manufacturing personnel in the private sector. Everybody feels very much like they identify with having a job in the outdoor economy. So we're focused on that belief by all of these employees that they are a part of and work for the outdoor recreation economy. Next slide. So, so the next few animations here talk a little bit about looking at workforce development in the recreation economy from a supply and demand perspective. As Timothy said, it's a pretty large subsector of the industry, $784 billion per year, 2.1% of GDP, 5 million jobs nationally. And that's, those are big numbers that frankly, from a communications perspective, don't really sink in with people. So some of the things that Kaylin has said in the past are 1 in 23 jobs in Oregon is in the recreation economy. During COVID, we did some work with the Outdoor Recreation Roundtable on COVID impacts, and we spent some time researching and understanding what the job loss and now the job gains are going to be over the next 10 years in the recreation economy. And if you look at the total number of jobs that are going to be created or filled or transitioned from now for maybe the next 10 years or so in the recreation economy, we're talking about, on the demand side of this workforce equation, an economy where 1 kid in every K-12 classroom in America right now is likely to work in this economy. So that's, it's a pretty substantial number of potential employees, that are able to, going to be working in this economy, when coupled with the fact that there really aren't strong pathways nationally to ensure that all of those people, regardless of where they live or work or what their cultural or geographic backgrounds might be, are able to get these jobs. And then on the supply side, a lot of these same people in the incoming generations are really looking for a job with purpose, a job tied to their passions for the outdoors and for spending time in nature and recreating. And so, when we're able to connect these two things with pathways to new and better jobs, then we can start to see our industry growing and innovating at a much higher rate. So next slide. Further context, workforce development, the phrase, the term is actually pretty confusing and ambiguous. There's a variety of different definitions you can find if you Google it, and it means different things to different people. But generally, it's the coordination of skills development initiatives that prepare people for current and future occupations, giving businesses the human capital necessary to meet demand. I think in my experience, I thought about workforce development as something the government did traditionally to help businesses get the people they needed and with the skills they needed to do the work they wanted to do. And that is, I'll show you in the next slide, there's a sort of a timeline here of workforce development, but that's really a pretty traditional view of workforce development. The more modern view of the workforce development system in America is a very people-focused enterprise where we're trying to upskill people to be mobile and innovative and entrepreneurial in our workforce and to help grow our economies and our communities. Aaron, I think the next button hit will bring up economic development. So a lot of you as state directors or potentially, working at states that are trying to develop recreation economies are involved in economic development. So the difference there is economic development is the implementation of business development and quality of life policies at a local level, usually, or a state level that influence the growth and restructuring of a region to improve its overall economic well-being. So economic development is a strategic engagement at the community, local, county, or state level to improve our communities overall by attracting businesses and supporting those businesses. Workforce development is about people. So it's about upskilling people and the programs we're going to be talking about at OSU, the programs Joel has, and some of the other 40 plus institutions across the country that have programs for the recreation economy are all really focused on the people side of things. So next slide. This is just a quick timeline as well for further context around workforce development in the United States. Workforce development is a uniquely American enterprise or concept. It was started actually in the late 19th century with the Morrill Acts that created land-grant universities like Oregon State University. So after the Industrial Revolution, there was a need for a high degree of need for skilled labor in America to help us, with agriculture and engineering and a variety of other sort of sectors. And so land-grant institutions were built to sort of help build that workforce of the future for all across the country. Then in 1913, the Department of Labor was formed to protect workers and support workers as they were, starting to organize. And then, as you're all certainly familiar, the New Deal and the WPA happened in the 30s. The scale of the New Deal is something that I think, today we're hearing talks about renewed service corps, climate corps, fire corps, conservation corps. The scale of funding for the New Deal and WPA compared to current discussions was nearly 20 times larger than everything that's being discussed. So there are these huge bills being talked about to create new works programs and workforce programs. And even though those numbers are massive, they are completely dwarfed by what was happening in the 30s. So then in 1962 and 3, there were further Manpower Development and Training Acts and that's where we started to see community colleges engaging in the conversation around workforce. And then you'll see this sort of trend over the next 50 years or so, where the bills and actions that we took in Congress really pushed workforce development down to the local level. Another thing that was happening here, through the CETA Act and the Job Training Partnership Act and the most recent, under the Clinton administration, the WIOA or Workforce Investment Act, really was, there was a trend of decreasing funding. So we've seen, more than 50% decrease in overall funding for workforce development in America, all at a time when we've been basically pushing this work onto local community workforce investment boards. And we've been living through a time where the changing needs of business are rapidly increasing, and the technology that we're all working with in our equipment and information systems is rapidly growing. So similar to what we're seeing with our land management agencies, there's also sort of a trend towards privatization. So there's more of a need for external entities and universities and other providers to engage in this work, because the government is at the federal level taking less and less action around this. Next slide. So at Oregon State University, over the last couple of years, Meredith and I and Aaron have been working to understand how to comprehensively approach workforce development for the recreation economy on a national level. We found a few things in our first couple of years through a lot of workforce studies and surveys. One of them was a huge urgency for knowledge transfer. A lot of the people that have the specialized or technical jobs in the recreation economy today are aging out and retiring very, very quickly. We built a training program for the ski industry, actually, around ski lift maintenance technicians, because the projections are that over the next 5 years, something like 85% of all ski lift technicians that are maintaining all the 2,500 ski lifts in the country will be retiring. So there's one resort in Oregon, I won't name which one, but lost their entire maintenance staff to retirements last year. And thankfully our training program and some other support from NSAA and others were able to help them get back on track pretty quickly. So again, yeah, there's a need for specialized and technical skills training. So I think the boat industry pre-pandemic had 30,000 open jobs in boat building and maintenance. The bike industry is struggling to get bike mechanics. So there's a lot of really technical jobs that need to be filled. And then, more attuned to the leadership certificate we have and the breadth of programs that Joel's going to discuss with you today, there's an increase in expectations around leadership skills, communication, collaboration, and partnerships. Our approach at OSU is to focus very much on the learner experience. And because there's a promise whenever somebody pays for any educational program at the higher ed level, the promise they're buying is that they'll get a new and better job. So it's really deeply important to us that the learner has a good experience, not just with the program, but also after they graduate with the program in terms of being able to engage with industry and find that new and better job. Next thing is we believe pretty strongly we should only be building programs that are recognized by industry and particularly recognized by industry standards of quality. So like with the program we built with the ski industry, that was a program that met the NSAA level 1 standard for lift maintenance technicians. If there isn't a standard in a particular area, our process is that we'll engage with the association or industry subsector on research to help them develop that standard so that we can then develop the program. And then the final thing in our approach is everything we do blends academic rigor with industry expertise. So every program we develop has equal parts pragmatic industry expert contributions from the private sector or agencies and alongside academics and professors. And the programs that we're developing at OSU are both in this technical space where we'll be working with community colleges all across the country. We hope to deliver these trainings nationally and also around leadership skills development. So next slide. Oregon State University, we like to call ourselves your College of the Outdoors. We have a number of degree programs from natural resource management and sustainability to environmental sciences. We have hospitality management degrees aligned with this industry, programs in tourism, recreation, and adventure leadership. We have the Adventure Leadership Institute for guides and outfitters, and we have Outdoor School, which is actually a program for 5th and 6th graders in the state where every kid in Oregon actually spends a whole week outside learning STEM skills and and talking about what it would mean to have a job in and around the outdoors. Then specific to the private sector and around product, we have merchandising and retail management degrees, material science degrees, supply chain logistics management and apparel design for the outdoor industry, and a new outdoor products degree program through our College of Engineering at OSU Cascades. And then finally, this announcement went out just last week, actually. So after a couple of years of work, OSU has decided to scale up what Meredith and Aaron and I have been working on into the Center for the Outdoor Recreation Economy at OSU. And our initial flagship educational program is an Outdoor Industry Leadership Certificate. I think there's one more animation on this one. Yeah. So the Center for the Outdoor Recreation Economy provides research capacity and workforce development solutions that support the outdoor recreation economy in reaching its full potential. We have research and faculty and staff that are available to help with applied research projects, with program development, industry engagement, and coordination, as you'll see in Aaron's work in just a minute. The Outdoor Industry Leadership Certificate we're offering starts in September of this year and runs through the summer of next year with an orientation on August 30th. There are a variety of enrollment options from single course enrollment to an online certificate and a professional in-person cohort program. So that's that announcement. Next slide. With that, I just want to thank you all for the opportunity to talk to you about OSU and what we're doing overall and workforce development in general. And now I want to hand it off to my colleague, Joel Harder at CU Boulder to talk about the pretty astonishingly cool programs that they're going to be launching this year.
Hi, everybody. Good afternoon, and thanks, Lee, and thanks for the invitation to be here today. I'm really pleased to talk to you all about the program that we are building here and launching here at the University of Colorado. My name is Joel Harder, and as Nathan Fay introduced me, I'm a professor here at the University of Colorado and also the director of the new Outdoor Recreation Economy program. Given the growth of the outdoor economy and its potential for more impact that we've heard from Lee, and as we'll hear from Aaron and its potential and bringing people around the outdoor economy, there's an important opportunity that we have here for the entire outdoor economy. And yet, as we've learned, there are very few outdoor industry specific programs. And so I'm here today to talk to further about one of the number of the bright spots that are emerging around the country. And you heard already from Lee about the phenomenal growth and the progress that they've made at Oregon State University. Here at the University of Colorado in the Mountain West, we are also breaking the mold of traditional and advanced education. We're focused on that advance professional and graduate education. And so not only am I going to tell you about what we're doing with the Outdoor Recreation Economy program, but I also want to talk to you about why it's a differentiator and what we're doing to really innovate and provide new opportunities for people in the outdoor recreation space. So next slide, please. So the recreation economy represents a growing economy, emerging markets that have opportunity and possibility. And so we conceive of the outdoor recreation economy holistically. It's the intersection between public lands, policy, resilient communities, and the outdoor industry. Innovation is going to be needed across the industry in leadership and sustainable business operations, appropriate policies and regulations to govern, sustainably use, and promote access to public lands and waterways, and outdoor recreation amenities that must be leveraged to grow local and sustainable communities. ORE will provide skills and knowledge to students and learners from a variety of backgrounds who are interested in the outdoor industry, economic development, and public lands and natural resource policy sectors. This program has a suite of different offerings delivered through different, what we call modalities. So as you'll see coming up in a couple of slides, but that responds to national, regional, and even local economic growth in the sector. And therefore, we anticipate continued growth post-COVID and looking at what is going to come next for the outdoor recreation economy employment demands. We've intentionally designed this as through a number of different modalities to really meet people where they are. It responds to that increased demand for remote learning, for residential learning, for different opportunities that provide people access to advanced education. So what we've done is we're able to leverage where we are, this great place in the Mountain West, our strength with professional and graduate programs, Boulder, and of course the state's deep, deep connection to the outdoors and outdoor recreation economy. And we want to and will provide that holistic experience for any professional in the outdoor economy. We're going to provide skills and knowledge to students from a variety of backgrounds who are interested in careers, starting in careers, continuing their career, accelerating their careers, and advancing their careers. Next slide, please. So ORE is designed with our values and purpose in mind. And I really appreciate Lee's comments about where people on the supply side are really thinking about purpose, passion, and now matching those values with how they are going to be educated and trained, and also the job that they find. We find this increasingly so in our Masters of the Environment professional program. And of course, we'll find that all across the outdoor sector where people are deeply tied to their personal pursuits and want to connect their professional pursuits as well. But to do this and really think about innovation across the outdoor sector, across the entire outdoor economy, we need to rethink and radically rethink education. Think about it in the way that we deliver it, the kinds of content, and we also need to think about exactly what Lee talked about, workforce development, to produce our students that are workforce ready. So ORE is founded on two guiding principles. We believe that we've got to increase access to meaningful industry relevant education. That is essential. We believe that everybody should have access to higher education and advanced learning, and not all two people learn the same. And so we want to provide these different opportunities to do that. And I'll explain what I mean coming up. The second is that we believe that strength and innovation and advancement for our industry is going to come through inclusion. So the more inclusive we are, the better our work is going to be, the stronger our work is going to be, the more innovative we are going to become. If we take those two guiding principles, that is how we have developed the outdoor recreation economy. But to do that, we truly need the support of the entire industry and professionals wherever they are in their career. So whether they are from a new to the industry to seasoned veteran, those who want to break into it and those who want to emerge as a leader, our challenge is to meet people where they are. If we truly want to change the industry, to change the face of the industry, and recruit and retain top talent, then we have to be thinking more broadly. And higher education has to be more responsive than it has in the past. As we say in our other program, Masters of the Environment, which focuses on environmental management and sustainability, those big problems are not only going to be solved by ecologists and biologists and environmental engineers. We need to bring all skills and backgrounds and talents to bear. Whether people have worked in the finance sector, whether they have a military background, whether they have been a guide, whether they are new to the industry, or again, a seasoned veteran. We want those skills and talents to be brought to bear on this sector to completely innovate. And so if you go next slide, please. So the outdoor recreation economy will serve a population of professionals that are currently underserved by higher education. Many professionals face constraints to obtain a graduate degree, whether that's family, time off work, expense, professional development funds, and now thinking about where we're coming out of COVID, we've all been stressed, we've all been overwhelmed, and to now think about emerging that puts an additional stressor. Providing different opportunities to people to take classes at will, to stack their classes into certificates or into micro-credentials and to stack those into degrees. That's something that we need to think about to accommodate and provide a workforce, not just facing, but workforce-oriented programs. And so what we can do is this program that provides interdisciplinary education that is stackable, that focuses on leadership, business, economic development, policy, sustainability, and more, can be used not only to meet the industry where it is now, but to think about where it is going and what is going to come next. Second, to provide continuous engagement with in partnership with the outdoor recreation, entire outdoor recreation industry. Our program comes alongside industry and business leaders, as well as those who are involved in this broader outdoor economy. That's important for us to continue to create those diverse career pathways and to create that sustainable talent pipeline. And at the same time, continuing to develop new methodologies, new opportunities, as well as new experiential learning and various other professional and scholarly activities is helpful because that helps to bring and support local economies. Next slide, please. So what this looks like is, as I said before, is that we want to provide and are providing differentiated learning opportunities to meet workforce demands. Unlike sort of what we call traditional academic programs that put a product out there or put a degree out there and students then are able to find and secure careers in a variety of different industries. We have held for the last 3 years over hundreds of conversations with industry leaders and policy leaders and municipal leaders and folks interacting directly and indirectly in the outdoor economy to really build an opportunity that really speaks and serves the outdoor economy. And that means that we have to provide different opportunities, again, whether they are new to the career or just or transitioning their careers, whether they are looking to advance their careers, we want to provide that opportunity. And here, typically, master's degrees are the ways that are leaned into. For us, master's degrees are just the start. It's just the start for us. So we already have a residential opportunity, but we know that it is expensive. It is, and people have to put life on hold to move to Boulder. So again, we want to create those different opportunities to meet people where they are. If you go back to our guiding principles, it's about access. It's about including people in this. And that means that what we'll do is in August, is that we're launching the Masters of Science in Outdoor Recreation Economy program. That is about 1/3 of the price of the traditional master's degree residential program provides another opportunity for people to get their advanced degrees. What's unique about that allows students to take courses, and if they want to continue upskilling and want more knowledge, then they can continue to take courses into certificates, and then they can stack those certificates into degrees. We'll continue to build different courses so that folks can have opportunities, whether in Boulder or on site, but not on location and in person, but not in Boulder, whether those online or in hybrid classes. We'll continue to build executive learning opportunities, workshops and boot camps that will be, that we can, whether they are in person or in other places. And we'll continue to offer advanced education, and we are launching an executive master's degree in the coming years. So with that, what we want to provide is continuous wraparound services for there's continuous on-ramps and off-ramps for people to work with CU to get the education that they need to advance their career, to enjoy that promotion, to accelerate, and for managers and leaders to continue to incentivize job growth and top performance, and to retain top talent. You know, for this program that is really about training those managers who are critical thinkers and who can think through complex problems and challenges, they need a place to go for that, and CU is the place for that. So next slide, please. So coming in August 2021, we have a couple of different offerings. Right now, we have the residential graduate program through the Masters of the Environment graduate degree through our sustainability in the outdoor industry degree concentration. We also have the online graduate degree, the Masters of Science in Outdoor Recreation Economy. Applications are still open, and that closes July 15th. And then we will continue, we have different certificates for continuing learning. Those will also launch in August of 2021, including those around outdoor industry business and leadership, natural resources policy, and one in economic development. And then in the next year and two, we will continue to launch more and more of those other learning opportunities. So next slide, please. So again, thank you for your time. I do appreciate that. And we'll make some final comments at the end. And I'll now turn it over to my colleague back at Oregon State University, Erin.
Thanks, Joel, and thanks, everyone. I'm really glad to be here to share the work that we've been doing to put together a national outdoor industry workforce development consortium of universities. So the work that I've been doing over the last year with Oregon State has been with this idea in mind that the best way to have a nationwide impact on workforce development in the outdoor recreation industry is to bring together academia with the outdoor industry in a space like a consortium where they can work together and learn from each other to build better academic programs that are immediately responsive to the needs of the industry. And the work that I've been doing over the last year has been funded by the VF Foundation through a grant to create this consortium and to do the work to bring this idea to life. So the whole idea of the consortium is, again, to do national level coordination between academia and the industry with the goal of supporting and growing the outdoor recreation industry and increasing its economic impact. As we've heard over the last 40 minutes or so, we've heard about the impact of the outdoor industry on the economy, on the job creation. It has significant impacts on rural economies as well as larger economies as well. And so building better workforce development programs will only increase this impact. Two, scaling up coordination between academia and the industry is going to be critical to ensuring that better workforce development programs are created. We just heard from Joel and from Lee, who are leading the way with these efforts to create programs that are immediately responsive to the needs of the industry and that are graduating students that are ready to get into the industry and to do great work, no matter what career path they choose. But the reality is that these programs are not widely accessible. And while there is really great coordination happening between certain academic institutions and the industry, and again, we heard from Lee and from Joel, who are working with outdoor industry partners, working with federal land management agencies to make this happen, to make these programs come to life. If we can do that work at a national level and bring in more universities, more technical colleges, more community colleges, HBCUs, tribal colleges, Hispanic serving institutions, and we can help these institutions create programming that is responsive to the needs of the outdoor industry from all aspects. We can grow the opportunities that are available for students from all backgrounds to enter and access the outdoor industry. And this coordination is going to help us build stronger and smarter workforce development programs. So the goals of the industry, I'll click through and bring all of these up. So the goals of the consortium are many, obviously. Bringing together academia and the industry will help us to gain a better understanding of what is this outdoor industry. I think we all have an idea, we all work with or in the industry, but the jobs that are available in the industry are so broad that if you talk to any freshmen at a college campus and ask them, you know, what is the outdoor industry, they're going to have many different answers and potentially fall short of being able to identify what are all of these jobs. And I think Lee in his presentation mentioned that, you know, most of the jobs in the industry that folks know about are the visible jobs, the store owners and the outfitters and the guides and the people that the public comes into immediate contact with. But the industry also includes manufacturing and product design and marketing, and there's a whole host of jobs that are available in the industry. And so we want to ensure that those jobs are known, and when we know what this industry looks like, academia can better respond and create programs that feed into those jobs. The consortium will also, by coming together, create a venue and a system to share information and resources. Over the past 9 months, I've been reaching out to academic institutions across the country to touch base with them about the programs that they're running related to outdoor recreation, public lands management, parks and recreation management. And the fun thing that I found is that many of these institutions know each other, they know of their work, but there isn't really a national level venue for them to share the work that they're doing or to collaborate or coordinate. So one institution in one state may be doing research regarding an industry or a national park or another public lands in another state, but doesn't have the contacts in that state and the universities in that state to connect with to coordinate on research. And so this would create that venue and create a system for sharing of information and resources. The consortium can establish defined job families and categories within the industry. So again, once we know what this industry is and the jobs that are available and the skills needed for those jobs, the industry can start to develop standards for jobs within the industry. And then the academic institutions can look to those standards when improving or developing new curriculum to ensure that what they're teaching in their programs and how they're training students is directly applicable to the jobs that are in the industry and the skills that are needed that hiring managers are looking for. And by doing that, we can create clear and accessible pathways into outdoor industry careers and foster a more diverse outdoor industry workforce. I think it's not a secret that the outdoor industry is currently lacking diversity and is often seen as an exclusive industry that's hyper networked that can be really difficult to get into. And so we want to break down those barriers and ensure that that these academic programs are accessible to all students at all income levels and all backgrounds to ensure that we're opening up these pathways into outdoor industry careers, helping students understand that this outdoor industry even exists and helping them identify what career path might be best for them, and thus ensuring that, you know, opening up those pathways into the outdoor industry will hopefully lead to a more diverse workforce, which will then hopefully lead to more inclusive spaces at outdoor businesses, as well as in the outdoors. And we ultimately want to make the outdoors welcoming for all visitors. So I just talked a little bit about what the consortium would do, and I'll just go over those again real quick. Conducting that collaborative research to identify the industry, identify jobs and skills within the industry. And that work is going to be done by bringing together academic institutions and the industry through this consortium. And I'll talk about this in a couple slides, but the consortium members would consist of academic institutions, and that's technical colleges, community colleges, four-year universities. I mentioned we want to ensure from the outset we have the participation of HBCUs and tribal colleges and Hispanic serving institutions, schools with rural campuses, schools with urban campuses. We want to ensure, because we know that this outdoor industry has an impact on economies everywhere. And by having that close connection, the academic institutions and this consortium can really have direct access to the needs of the outdoor industry. Through that research and then the work with the industry, the consortium can set standards for jobs and assist member schools in using those standards to develop or improve upon or change their curriculum to ensure that they're meeting those standards. And then again, this consortium will be a venue for sharing information and sharing resources between universities and between academia and the industry. The consortium is setting out to solve several problems, and I've touched on some of these. One, the lack of clear and universal understanding about what is this outdoor recreation industry, what jobs are available in the industry, and how someone would get a job in the industry. There currently isn't a national level coordination between academia and the industry, and I mentioned and noted that Joel and Lee have both talked about how their programs really came about through close partnerships with industry partners, but that's not happening at a national level. And so to bring together the industry with academic institutions nationally, so that it's, you know, students don't just have to come to the West to get into the outdoor industry, but this collaboration is happening nationwide. And then again, the outdoor industry tends to have an exclusivity epidemic that makes it really difficult for students to access jobs in the outdoor industry. Often job postings for outdoor industry jobs have requirements like, you know, have to have experience in the outdoor industry. Well, how do you get experience without access? And so if our academic programs can provide that direct training and experience, that should give them the experience they need to get these jobs. And then there's overall, I think, especially post-COVID, a need for community economic development. And we know that particularly in rural areas, there is an opportunity here to build up the outdoor rec economy to really support those rural communities. And then the benefits of the consortium, again, some of these I've touched on, but that national level coordination, that's not currently happening, but the consortium would really drive that home. Access to funding opportunities, this is both federal funding and private funding is coming to, if one university wants to access funding through, say, the Economic Development Administration or the Forest Service or the National Park Service, an impact that one university can make is not going to be as significant as a consortium of universities across the country could make. And so a consortium of universities is going to position itself much better to access both federal and private funds to build up workforce development in the outdoor industry. And then this coordination is going to ultimately result in better training and education for students and better job candidates for the industry, because that communication will be happening between the industry and the institutions to ensure that the programs are being directly responsive to the needs of the industry. And then again, this venue for information sharing, networking, and collaborating is going to be a huge benefit. So the needs of the consortium as we work to set it up are members, which are post-secondary educational institutions with outdoor recreation or related academic programs at any level. And I have had conversations with schools that do not currently have outdoor rec programs, but might want to in the future and are interested in how this consortium could help them do that. And so I think we're going to be able to see a broad variety of schools participating in the consortium. The consortium will need partnerships with outdoor industry companies, trade associations, federal agencies, economic development agencies, state offices of outdoor recreation, and related agencies at all levels to ensure that the consortium can be responsive to the needs of the industry. And then funding will be needed to sustain this momentum and to build the consortium into a productive organization. And so partnerships with state offices as well as state agencies, whether that's state departments of parks and recreation or natural resources, are going to be really important to ensuring that the consortium understands the needs of not just the industry, but also the needs of states and rural communities. It's going to be critical that those partnerships are accessible, that the consortium has close partnerships with states to ensure that they're being responsive to those needs when it comes to education, workforce development, industry engagement, rural economic development. I think that's a really big one. The consortium, through those partnerships with states, can really start to understand what are the needs of rural communities and how can academic institutions be creating programs that are going to help those communities thrive. Career readiness training and community engagement are going to be really important here too. So that's what we're working on with the consortium. Just an update on my outreach. I've been spending, like I mentioned, about the last 9 months working on connecting with schools across the country. And just to rattle off a few states, I've spoken to schools in Washington, Oregon, West Virginia, Alabama, Texas, Arizona, New Mexico, Colorado, Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania. It's been really impressive to hear about what the schools in these states are doing, and across the board, it's really exciting. And we've gotten really positive feedback from faculty at many of these academic institutions. So we're hoping that we can build something really impactful and that we can start really making an impact on the outdoor industry and economies across the country. So with that, I'll turn it over to Timothy.
Thanks, Erin. Greatly appreciate it. Did you and Joel and Lee want to talk through your next step slide, or were we leaving that for the moment?
I think we can talk through next steps.
Yeah, we certainly can. So the first sort of next step item is for the state outdoor recreation offices to first and foremost work on convening and accelerating industry and education relationships and partnerships. So at a micro level, that can be things like introducing Erin to a faculty member in your state to talk about the consortium, or introducing a dean or a college president or a faculty member at a university in your state that cares about the outdoor recreation economy simply to a business owner or somebody in your state that is hiring people or is interested in how we develop our workforce in America. So it can be big or it can be small, but it all starts with relationship development. And I'm going to hand it off to Joel to sort of put a pin in that and talk about how that can really, really help our programs. So
yeah, thanks, Lee. And so we want to, the second point is to really help us to, what we say is elevate and legitimize the new programs. So UREC is an economic development priority for the states, and such programs support industry, we know, communities and states' economies. And these new types of degrees, new names of degrees, and perhaps new institutional players and partners in this space, we need the states around us to not just advise these programs, but really help programs quickly build standing within the industry. And that's where you all can help us do that. So I want to turn it last over to Erin.
Great, thanks. And specifically on the consortium, I invite all of you, and I would love your assistance in helping with outreach efforts on the consortium. So we have been connecting, as I said, with states, with universities across the country, colleges, technical colleges, HBCUs, and we want to ensure that we aren't leaving anyone out. We want this to be an inclusive process. We've been doing a lot of outreach via word of mouth, but also a lot of just cold emails to schools that we think might be interested that have outdoor recreation related programs. And so I would love to hear about the schools in your state that you think may be interested, as well as we're connecting with outdoor industry business alliances, as well as any other interested groups in the state that are bringing people together to work on outdoor industry, economic development, or business support across your state. So any help with outreach, please feel free to reach out. I would love to connect with a school in your state.
Thanks, Erin. And we did have one question specifically kind of following on to that about how folks on the line could find out more about the consortium. I understand we're still in the early stages. Is the best way to just contact you at your email here, or is there any online materials that they might be able to kind of get eyes on at this stage?
We don't have any online materials yet, just because it's in its infancy, but please reach out to me and I'd be happy to send you, we have a handout, a PDF handout that has more information, and I would love to have one-on-one conversations with folks as well. So please feel free to reach out to me at the email listed on the bottom of the slide.
Thanks, Erin. And as a reminder for everybody who is listening in, we will be posting the recording of this webinar, and we'll have the slides on NGA's website. We'll send that around to everybody who is with us today and who registered. So you can access Erin's email that way. And then you also always feel free to reach out to NGA, and we're happy to make that connection. We have a couple minutes left before we reach our 4 o'clock hour here on the East Coast, and I want to be respectful of everybody's time. So maybe offering a concluding thought, wanted to tie this all together with state offices and maybe throw it out to all the panelists. Kind of concluding thought about how it's been helpful for you in your work in your program, and then maybe at your institution in general, as you've sort of geared these programs up to work with your state offices of outdoor rec. What's the helpful way that you've been able to engage with them and they've engaged with you, and how we can keep that going?
I can chime in here. I've talked to several state offices of outdoor recreation, and I'll refrain from naming them just so I don't put anybody on the spot, but I've had great conversations, and how it's been really helpful to make those connections is to hear, because oftentimes those offices know which schools are kind of leading the way within the state with programming, which schools are partnering with others or with the business community on internships and other types of, work programs between students and the outdoor industry. And so just making those connections to know kind of the environment and the work that's happening in each state has been really helpful, and has led to a lot of new connections. I just emailed with a Office of Outdoor Recreation about a week ago and got a new connection to a new university that I hadn't spoken with already. So it's been really helpful to make those contacts, and just inspiring to hear what's happening across the country. Because again, we know that this coordination between the industry and academia is happening in states, but we're hoping to elevate that to the national level.
Thanks, Erin. Lee, Joel, Nathan, Kaylin, any final comments you'd like to make before we conclude today's webinar?
Maybe just sort of a note of hope that we are making quite a bit of progress. I remember, I think Nathan and I had breakfast in Boulder a couple of years ago, and we're brainstorming about what this sort of future work and consortium and all this kind of stuff might look like. And even just a couple of years ago, the basically the focus of the conversation was, hey, did you know about this program that's happening at this college? Or did you know about these people? Or like we were literally just brainstorming the network and saying, you know, this stuff's happening here, this stuff's happening here, whatever. But, you know, now a couple of years later, we have new programs being developed at a much more rapid rate. The universities are talking much more closely. Like I think Joel and I are probably on the phone at least every month, if not a couple times a month. So the rate of discussion amongst education institutions and amongst industry and education is ramping up really, really quickly. And we think through things like the consortium, in just a matter of a few months or a year, there won't be any question about whether or not we're aware of everything that's happening in the country and what the sort of development of educational offerings might be. So I think the state offices are really in a very unique place to help continue to support and accelerate and promote all of these ideas.
Thanks, Lee. All right, well, thank you again, everyone, for joining. I'd like to, as we wrap up here a minute over, I'd like to thank our sponsors for the NGA's Outdoor Learning, Recreation Learning Network, ORR, OIA, VF, and REI. And thank you to all of you, Joel, Aaron, Lee, Kaylin, and Nathan, for being with us today. And thank you all for joining. I hope that this was useful for you, and we will see you all again soon. So thanks very much for everyone's time, and have a great rest of your day. Take care.